Hi, I'm Kris Haugo.
And I'm John Haugo. Start out today with Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake, and the hearts of the sea, though waters roar and foam, though mountains tremble with its tumult. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
And from Psalm 18, 30 and 31. This God, his way is perfect. The promise of the Lord proves true. He is a shield for those who take refuge in him. For who is God but the Lord? And who is a rock except our God? Day 1. It seemed that it would be an ordinary Tuesday. Little did we know, an adventure of epic proportions loomed.
My journey started out on a Saturday, the 19th of October, with just some abdominal pain. And I have had a history of kidney stones, so I just thought it was something like kidney stones again. But the discomfort and pain progressed, and finally on Monday I called our local clinic and asked for an appointment, and they were able to see me on Tuesday afternoon. And I saw one of the doctors at the clinic, and he was very good and excellent. He did some tests and a CAT scan and found out that I was dealing with a small intestine obstruction that they perceived was probably secondary to an adhesion that was formed probably when I had abdominal surgery in 1996. I went to the process of after the diagnosis of the abdominal obstruction. I called Kris at school and just indicated that was what was happening, and that we needed to make a decision on where we would go to have care. At that time, Dr. Tim was gone on vacation, so they didn't have a surgeon locally, and they suggested we go to another hospital. Given the choice of, Wilmer, Hutchinson, St. Cloud, and then the cities, and because 3 of our daughters all live within about 10-minute radius of Abbott Northwest Hospital, we made the decision to go to the cities, and that would have an opportunity for Kris to, go to one of their homes to sleep or rest, and have them available for support.
And I let school know that I'd be gone a day or two.
And in the process, we were admitted on an emergency basis at Abbott, and they confirmed the diagnosis and started me on a protocol that is used for obstructions, where they superhydrate you with fluids with the idea.
We got 10 minutes altogether.
Okay.
Go to day 2.
But anyway, the fluids that they gave me caused the intestines to fill up with fluid, and that led to a reflux, which is where the fluid, rather than going out the back end, it came out my mouth. So I vomited extremely violently, repetitively, and during that episode of vomiting, I aspirated that fluid into my lungs. And that led to an aspiration pneumonia, which quickly deteriorated.
That was day 2 into day 3. I arrived early on day 3 after going to one of the kids to sleep for a little bit, and John was being whisked away to the ICU at that point. Septic shock set in, started causing problems. My dad came to visit. We had a prayer circle with him. He's He was a Lutheran pastor. And John was filled with all sorts of emotions. Why don't you tell him about what you were thinking?
Well, when it happened, I am aware of what happens with aspiration pneumonia, and I know it's not good. And I was extremely angry. It was just a consuming anger that engulfed every bit of my being, because I knew that it was going to be a very problematic situation.
Yeah. So family was there till about midnight that night. We dispersed to get some sleep if we could, and then the phone rang at about 1:30. And you were still remembering things, I think, at that point. Yep. Why don't you tell them about that phone call?
Well, when Kris left, she just said to be sure to call if there's any changes, and then the doctor came in and said that they were going to schedule me for surgery, and I assumed it would be fairly soon after he was there, and so I said, well, you need to call Kris and let her know what your plan is. And so they called Kris, and she came right back.
Yeah, that was day 4. So Anna was in Scotland at the time. She booked a flight to try to get back. Ben booked to come in from Montana to join Laura and Patrick and Maren and myself at the hospital. And it was then day 4, we call it going down the rabbit hole. John went down the rabbit hole. So for this next little stretch, you were there, but not really there.
Yeah, I have very little memory of probably the next 10, 11 days.
Yeah. So late that night, day 4, more and more organs began to shut down. It was crisis time. We were still waiting for Anna. The rest of the kids were there. Things worsened, and I remember going to John's bedside and looking at his face and looking at death. I saw death. The flood of emotions, the varied thoughts, the hundreds of thoughts that were going through my mind all at the same time, and the prayers were overwhelming. But you know what? There was peace. Even in the midst of all this, there was peace. Our medical team leapt into action. He had 17 IV lines going. They were giving him all sorts of other things. We called it throwing the kitchen sink at John. And finally, he was administered a paralytic so that any oxygen, any energy that he had would just go to his vital functions. And at that point, nobody said anything about him dying, but yet you could tell that things were heading that direction. But John survived the night. Our family group was together. And then we headed into days 5 through 10. Those were days of a lot of waiting, a lot of praying, a lot of coming really in close. We called it our circle of 8, our immediate family. We had a next layer that we would do text messages to once a day, but we just really needed to be in tight there. Throughout those days, we were blessed. We were blessed throughout this journey. Bless the doctor who came in to report just a slight increase in one of the many, many numbers. Bless the cleaning lady. She was a rock star. Every day she would come in and we would communicate, and she would say, he looks a little better today, even when he didn't, and would say, I'm praying for him. Bless the little Norwegian church close to Abbott. We worshiped there the first Sunday, and new friends added their prayers. Bless that young chaplain who came in and cried, and I said, do you know something I don't know? And she left, but she came back the next day. Bless our family circle of 8. We retreated there. We shared meals and hugs, laughter from time to time. My kids even snuck wine into the hospital one night. Bless our Zion family, extended friends and family, our medical teams. God's hands and feet really so there before us. And thanks to God who was our rock and provided peace through the storm, even when the only words that could go through my mind were, from my heart to your ears, O God. I found no other words, but that did it. That's all we needed, or I needed. We are created for relationships with each other and with God. Never has this been more clear than during our journey facing death. Day 10. I don't know if you remember this.
I really don't remember much until that Sunday.
Okay. This was a Thursday. And John emerged a little bit, and they felt that they could extubate him on Thursday afternoon. He couldn't even lift his pinky. He just was in that bed, but he could blink his eyes. So Ben created a letter board, and painstakingly, letter by letter, we would point and John would blink when we got the right letter. Much to our amusement, his first message we thought was going to be profound, and it spelled out, "Scratch my head." So we did. That evening, though, he took a turn for the worse again. And what went through my mind was, did we get that one more day that so many people talk about, so many people crave? Maybe now this is death. Maybe we had one more day. But again, days 11 through 13, we had new protocols, new therapies, new black toes where his tissues started to die, and then gradual healing. And this, I think, is where your memory started to emerge again.
Yep. Again, it was quite a journey in a sense that when I awoke, my strength was just non-existent. I couldn't lift my hand off the bed. Had no strength whatsoever. You know, I could blink, I could swallow, and that's about my movements. And you know, the doctors and the staff were just absolutely wonderful, and their care and their expertise was beyond belief and expectation. And the journey continued, but every day I could see improvement, and became optimistic that, you know, things would go the way we had hoped. And stayed in the ICU for 11 days, and from there to a kind of a transitional care facility, and from the transitional care facility for a week I went to a rehab facility for 2 more weeks, and finally after 35 days they discharged me. Was it on a Sunday or a Monday?
It was on a Sunday, right before the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And man, we were thankful. Do you want to talk about any of this?
You know, I really wasn't aware of the process of being so close to death. But when Kris and the kids kind of detailed me on what had gone on, you know, I was thinking in my mind of how blessed I was to have an opportunity to have success. And I believe this to my core, that God gave me some opportunities. And there were so many decisions that were made along the line that, you know, you wonder if they were just by coincidence, but I guess I'm inclined to think that a lot of the decisions that were made by us and the doctors and the staff were just an opportunity that I had been given. And I'm thankful every day for the opportunity to still be here on earth with my family and all the people that I love, and feel just very blessed at that opportunity that I was given.
I think we'll end with a verse from John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Truly, you know, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is their own. We all deal with it differently, but for us, that peace of God truly shone through what could have and was in many ways a scary time.